Hello everyone, and welcome to my BNB CBS Gossip 24 channel. The city was buzzing with whispers the moment Finn's ex-wife suddenly stepped through the doors of the Forrester Creations exchange, her presence like an unforeseen blast that transferred shockwaves through everyone's precisely constructed lives, and Steffy, who had always flattered herself on her countenance, felt her precisely curated world begin to deteriorate nearly incontinently, the moment Finn's ex-wife appeared, dressed perfectly yet with an air of deliberate intimidation. Steffy's stomach twisted in a way she had no way endured before, a admixture of covetousness, fear, and dubitation submerging her mind as she tried desperately to maintain a veneer of calm while every instinct screamed at her that this was a situation twisting out of control, and as Finn saluted his ex-wife with a polite, nearly nervous smile, Steffy's palpitation contended and her vision blurred slightly, because deep down she knew that the history between Finn and this woman was far more involved than she had ever imagined, and the consummation hit her like a physical blow. The history she had tried to ignore, the secrets that Finn had maybe no way participated, were now not only present but hanging to insinuate their current life, and Steffy's heart pounded harder with every step Finn's ex-wife took toward them, her voice smooth and teasing, trickling with the kind of calculated charm that made Steffy's skin bottleneck and her mind spin with every possible worst-case script. And when Finn tried to explain that she was just in city for business, Steffy could feel herself shaking uncontrollably, her knuckles decolorizing as she gripped the edge of the exchange counter, trying to base herself while Finn's ex-wife let slip just enough commentary to hint at a knowledge of Finn's life, of his fears, of the corridor of him that Steffy allowed. She knew better than anyone, and the exchange itself sounded to shrink around Steffy as she watched Finn laugh politely at commodity inoffensive she had said, the casual closeness in the way he responded transferring a jolt of fear through Steffy's body, kindling a storm of precariousness she had no way brazened so violently before, while every hand and paperback in the exchange sounded to smell the pressure, glancing nervously between the three of them, feeling the heat in the room rise like an impending storm, and also came the disclosure. The stunner dropped as casually as if it were gossip at a lunch table. Finn's ex-wife, with an impeccably arched eyebrow and a tone that carried the weight of dangerous intent, revealed her true reason for returning to city, intimating at fiscal dealings, old grievances, and secrets from Finn's history that Steffy had no way dared to imagine, and it was in that moment that Steffy's precisely held countenance shattered fully. Her voice cracking as she brazened Finn, her feelings discovering over an alluvion of allegations, admissions, and hopeless pleas, while Finn tried to calm her, his hands gently resting on her arms, resting her, but indeed his soothing presence could stem the tidal surge of fear, covetousness, and heartache that hovered to consume her, and as Finn's ex-wife continued to reveal subtle manipulations and imputations about Finn's choices, about the dynamics of their former marriage, and about what he'd kept from Steffy, the youthful woman set up herself backing into a display rack, her body pulsing uncontrollably, gashes streaming down her cheeks as she tried to reuse the enormity of the intrusion into her life, the audacity of someone from Finn's once daring to assert influence over their present, and in that moment, Steffy realized that the life she had erected, secure and predicated, was suddenly fragile, exposed to forces she had no control over, and she began to vocalize her fears, her rage, her anguish, every word a admixture of heartache and fury, while Finn, caught between the woman he'd formerly loved and the woman he loved now, tried desperately to navigate the minefield of feelings, his own guilt and confusion hanging to tip him into the chaos around them, and the exchange came a battleground, the formerly peaceful and fashionable shop now a stage for a battle filled with allegations, exposures, and emotional rawness that no bone present could ignore. While Steffy's musketeers, associates, and indeed non-natives in the exchange watched in stupefied silence as the unraveling continued, every dramatic pause and charged regard amplifying the intensity, the pressure reaching a fever pitch as Finn's ex-wife revealed a shocking verity about her motives, suggesting that she had returned not simply for check but to impact Finn's business opinions, his social standing, and conceivably to destabilize the relationship he participated with Steffy. And the audacity of the claim hit Steffy like a lightning bolt, her knees nearly buckling as she gripped at a display of developer handbags, her mind contending with fear, wrathfulness, and unbelief, the world around her blurring as the internal storm raged, recollections of Finn's ex-wife's history manipulations mingling with present pitfalls in a dizzying and nearly unsupportable curve, and yet, Indeed, in the midst of her meltdown, Steffy's mind began to map, allowing in rapid-fire fire bursts about how to cover her marriage, how to shield Finn from exploitation, how to assert herself in the face of someone who sounded intent on reclaiming a space she had no way wanted to lose. And as the discussion escalated, voices rising, tempers glaring, Finn trying to intervene with reason and calm that only incompletely succeeded, Steffy's emotional state teetered dangerously between despair and resoluteness, the drama in the B&B shop reaching a position that sounded nearly cinematic, each disclosure and counter-revelation layering onto the last, creating a storm that would leave no heart untouched. And as Finn's ex-wife leaned in to make yet another imputation, inferring knowledge of Finn's secret fears, Steffy could no longer contain herself, her voice cracking like a scourge as she let loose a alluvion of emotion, demanding to know why, questioning every action, every intention, every hidden corner of Finn's history that had now resurfaced, the exchange now echoing with the sound of colliding choices, the air thick with pressure, every paperback and hand firmed in a admixture of seductiveness and fear, while Finn, torn and anguished, tried to bridge the widening gap, to soothe and assure, yet the damage had formerly begun, Steffy's meltdown reaching a top as she indicted Finn of conspiracy, of withholding verity, of undervaluing the impact of his history on their present, and in the midst of the chaos, Finn's ex-wife, unyielding, revealed details of a former treason, subtle manipulations, and emotional games that she had played in the history, casting a shadow over Finn's current life and testing Steffy's resoluteness. And yet, indeed, as the pain hovered to overwhelm her, Steffy's fierce fidelity, her determination to cover her family, and her unyielding love for Finn began to manifest in a raw, nearly primitive energy that defied the ex-wife's attempts to blackjack her, as Steffy set up herself. Standing high, voice steadier despite gashes streaming down her face, defying the history with a combination of courage, passion, and an imperturbable will to fight for her marriage, turning the tables emotionally in ways that indeed Finn's ex-wife had anticipated. And as the hours passed in what felt like a non-stop storm of drama, battle, and disclosure, Steffy oscillated between despair and commission, fear and determination, heartache and resoluteness, her emotional trip on full display to everyone in the exchange, with Finn caught in the eye of the storm, loving both women in different ways but realizing that the present needed his full commitment to Steffy, while Finn's ex-wife, realizing that her attempts to unhinge the couple were only incompletely effective, continued to press, her motives now exposed as both a test of Finn's fidelity and a hunt to recapture control over corridor of his life she felt were unfairly lost, and the dramatic pressure, high as it had ever been, set the stage for future conflicts, rumored alliances, and explosive competitions, leaving Steffy exhausted but inspired, her breakdown transubstantiating into an important protestation that no bone, once or present, would undermine her or the life she participated with Finn, a moment of raw, emotional intensity that would be flashed back in the halls of Forrester Creations and rumored about in the city for months, the saga of Finn's ex-wife's unanticipated appearance, Steffy's complete meltdown, the shocking exposures, and the unyielding courage of a woman determined to cover her love getting yet another indelible chapter in the ongoing drama of their integrated lives, as the exchange sluggishly returned to normality, though the echoes of pressure, heartache, and battle dallied in every corner, reminding everyone that in a world where history and present collide, and love and covetousness walk hand in hand, peace was transitory, feelings were explosive, and Steffy's adaptability would continue to define her in ways no bone, not indeed Finn's ex-wife, could anticipate. Steffy could feel the air in the boutique crackle with tension as Finn's ex-wife lingered near the display of scarves, her presence deliberate, calculated, a silent predator observing its prey, and Steffy's chest tightened with every slow, measured step the woman took, the sound of her heels on the polished floor echoing in Steffy's ears like a countdown to emotional devastation. And with every word Finn's ex-wife spoke, casually recounting anecdotes from their shared past, insinuating hidden truths and casting shadows over Finn's present, Steffy's mind raced faster than her heartbeat, flashes of every insecurity, every doubt she had ever felt about Finn, surged forward in a relentless tide, and she could feel the heat rising in her face, the sting of tears threatening to overwhelm her composure, but despite the fear and jealousy, a spark of defiance ignited within her. A determination not to allow this woman to destabilize everything she had fought so hard to build, and Finn's sensing the tension vibrating off Steffy in waves, stepped closer to her, gently placing a hand on her arm, murmuring reassurances she barely heard over the roaring in her ears, and yet even his touch, normally grounding, seemed to amplify the storm inside her, because in that moment she realized that Finn's ex-wife was not just here to visit or reminisce, she was here with intent, and Steffy's instinct screamed that every smile, every polite word, every veiled compliment was a weapon, a means to undermine her, to infiltrate the life she had carved out with Finn, and Steffy's body reacted before her mind could fully process, her fists clenching at her sides, nails digging into her palms as she struggled to breathe, to maintain some semblance of control, while Finn's ex-wife, noticing the subtle signs of distress, tilted her head slightly, an almost imperceptible smirk playing on her lips, as if to say, "Yes, this is working," and Steffy, sensing the provocation, snapped, her voice breaking the tense silence as she demanded to know exactly what she wanted, why she was here now, and why she seemed so intent on disrupting a life that had no place for her, and Finn tried to intervene, to mediate, his voice calm yet strained as he emphasized that his past was exactly that, past, and that Steffy had nothing to fear, yet his words, meant to soothe, only seemed to fuel Steffy's anxiety, because the more he explained, the more details surfaced that she hadn't known, that revealed parts of his history with this woman that she hadn't been privy to, and each revelation felt like another layer of betrayal, whether intended or not, and the boutique around them seemed to dissolve into a blur as Steffy's thoughts spiraled, envisioning scenarios where Finn's ex-wife might manipulate his emotions, might plant seeds of doubt, might even attempt to reclaim what she had once considered hers, and the idea that Finn had a life before her, secrets tucked away in the folds of memory, terrified Steffy in a way that made her knees weak, her voice rise, her tears fall, and yet, even in the height of her emotional meltdown, she found clarity in one truth: she would not be undermined, she would not be intimidated, she would fight for her marriage, for her love, for her future with Finn, and with that thought, her stance shifted, her posture straightened, her voice steadied just enough to confront Finn's ex-wife directly, eyes blazing with the fire of someone who had been hurt before but had emerged stronger. And Finn's ex-wife, unflinching, met Steffy's gaze, recognizing the shift, realizing that the emotional leverage she had relied upon was beginning to slip, and the dynamic changed, subtly but profoundly, as the room now held a new tension. Not just fear and anxiety, but defiance, determination, and the undercurrent of an impending confrontation that neither woman could fully control, and as Finn stepped back, caught between the two women, his heart a battleground of past love, present commitment, and lingering guilt, he struggled to find the right words, to provide the comfort and reassurance Steffy so desperately needed while simultaneously navigating the precarious balance of civility with his ex-wife, whose motives remained partially obscured but whose presence had already caused irreversible disruption, and Steffy, sensing Finn's internal conflict, pressed her advantage, not with malice but with truth, articulating her fears, her insecurities, her perception of threats, every word raw with emotion, demanding transparency, loyalty, and unshakable commitment, and Finn, listening, realized that this moment was pivotal, that the past had returned not merely as a shadow but as a test of trust, and as he responded, acknowledging past mistakes, clarifying intentions, and affirming his devotion, Steffy felt a flicker of relief, though tempered by the knowledge that Finn's ex-wife was not finished, that the game of psychological chess was far from over. And with a deliberate elegance, Finn's ex-wife revealed another layer of motive, hinting at unfinished business and business dealings, old rivalries, and the subtle manipulation of public perception, and Steffy, absorbing the implications, felt both rage and a renewed sense of purpose, understanding that she had to protect not just her marriage but the professional world they shared, the social networks intertwined with Forrester creations, the alliances and rivalries that could easily be exploited by someone with knowledge of Finn's history, and as the conversation escalated, with words sharpened by tension and intention, Steffy's emotions oscillated between fear, anger, heartbreak, and fierce determination, a storm of psychological complexity that mirrored the drama unfolding in the boutique around them, while Finn, torn yet resolute, sought to bridge the gap, to neutralize the manipulation, to reassure Steffy, to navigate the complicated morality of loyalty to the past versus devotion to the present, and as he spoke, Steffy's mind raced, cataloging every expression, every nuance, every gesture, trying to predict the next move, to fortify herself against potential deception, yet even as she processed the psychological assault, she found herself compelled to act, to assert control, to reclaim the narrative from a woman who seemed intent on dominating it, and the boutique became an arena of high-stakes emotional maneuvering, where past histories collided with present realities, where trust and doubt clashed violently, and where love and loyalty were tested in the most public and visceral ways imaginable. And even as Finn's ex-wife tried subtle provocations, suggesting that Finn's priorities might be divided, that Steffy's influence was not absolute, that old feelings could resurface, that control could be wrested away, Steffy's resolve hardened, each insinuation met with firm rebuttal, each challenge countered with emotional intelligence and raw courage, and the surrounding employees and shoppers, sensing the intensity, could hardly look away, captivated by the unfolding drama, caught between curiosity and discomfort, witnessing a battle of past versus present, manipulation versus authenticity, and the emotional crescendo continued, building like a storm about to break, until Finn's ex-wife, realizing that her subtle tactics were insufficient, escalated, dropping a revelation that threatened to rewrite Steffy's understanding of Finn's past, a confession about a decision he had made, a choice that had been kept secret, a hint of vulnerability that Finn had never disclosed. And Steffy's heart sank, her pulse accelerating, her mind spinning with questions and fears, yet even in the depths of despair, she found a new source of strength, a recognition that love was not passive, that trust required confrontation as well as reassurance, that she had to assert herself not only for her own sense of security but for the future of their life together, and with a voice trembling yet determined, Steffy demanded accountability, clarity, and the unvarnished truth, refusing to be pacified by half-measures or excuses, while Finn, deeply pained but understanding the necessity of transparency, disclosed the missing pieces, the context, the rationale, the regrets and intentions, and as he did, Steffy felt a mixture of relief and lingering doubt, because even as explanations were given, the presence of his ex-wife served as a constant reminder of the fragility of perception, the power of history, the way past actions could ripple into the present. And she realized that vigilance, communication, and emotional fortitude would be required far beyond this single encounter, yet the process of confrontation, of emotional honesty, of standing her ground, began to transform the fear into empowerment, giving Steffy a sense of agency she had never felt so acutely, and as Finn's ex-wife, sensing that her manipulations were being thwarted, adjusted tactics, shifting from insinuation to outright challenge, questioning Steffy's right to Finn's unwavering attention, subtly undermining her confidence, suggesting that Steffy might not truly understand the complexities of Finn's life, past attachments, or emotional needs, and Steffy, recognizing the calculated provocation, refused to be drawn into reactive behavior, instead maintaining composure while articulating her perspective with clarity, emphasizing mutual respect, loyalty, and the strength of shared history built after Finn's past had ended, and in this dynamic interplay of emotion and strategy, the B&B shop itself seemed to hold its breath, the tension palpable, every glance, every gesture. The internal dialogue was exhausting, a continuous loop of what-ifs and moral calculations, but Taylor knew she could not turn back. The truth had revealed itself, and with it came the obligation to act. She steeled herself, imagining the first steps, observing Thomas more closely, gently probing his intentions in casual conversations, seeking corroboration for what she had overheard, and preparing herself for the moment when she could confront him directly, armed with insight, strategy, and the unshakable authority of a mother who had seen through decades of deception, ambition, and human frailty. Taylor's mind even imagined reaching out to others for guidance, weighing the risks of confiding in Ridge or Steffy prematurely, knowing that once she involved anyone else, the secret would no longer be hers alone to manage. It was a balancing act between secrecy and transparency, strategy and morality, love and accountability, a delicate interplay that would define not only Thomas's immediate future but also the cohesion of the family and the integrity of the B&B empire. The night stretched on, and Taylor remained vigilant, oscillating between moments of fear, flashes of anger, and deep wells of sorrow. Her reflections were interrupted occasionally by the faint sounds of the house settling, the subtle creak of footsteps in distant rooms, each noise a reminder that life outside this quiet hallway continued unabated even as she grappled with a revelation that could change everything. The weight of Thomas's secret pressed upon her like a tangible force, and Taylor knew that the days ahead would be filled with tension, confrontation, and the need for precise, courageous action. She could not afford missteps. She could not allow the truth to fester into catastrophe. And yet, she also recognized that the revelation of Thomas's dark secret could, paradoxically, become a moment of redemption, an opportunity for clarity, honesty, and healing if handled with care, insight, and courage. Taylor's mind replayed the final moments of Steffy's call, the urgency in her voice, the desperation.